The galaxy had already decided that Earth would die. High above the blue world, fleets of alien warships hung in silent formation. They blocked the stars. Their weapons were charged, their orders final. To them, Earth was loud, unstable, and dangerous. Humans spread too fast, asked too many questions, and refused to bow. That alone was reason enough for extinction. On Earth, the sky burned. Cities glowed orange as orbital strikes tore through defenses that were never meant to win. Human fighters rose anyway, thin and fragile against ships the size of mountains. They were cut apart in seconds. Oceans boiled where beams touched the surface. Power grids failed. Millions ran, screamed, prayed, or simply stared upward, knowing there was nowhere left to go. In underground shelters and shattered command centers, human leaders watched the same images on broken screens. There was no shouting now, no panic, only quiet breathing and clenched hands. They had known this moment would come. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. The galaxy had always feared them. Fear always ends the same way. A young technician wiped blood from his forehead and looked at the woman standing at the center of the room. She did not wear armor. She did not shout orders. She only nodded once. "It's time," she said. Across the planet, systems long hidden came online. Antennas that had never transmitted activated at once. Like deep space relays buried in asteroids, moons, and forgotten probes woke up. Power surged through networks that did not appear on any alien scan. The alien commanders noticed the change and laughed. They thought it was a surrender signal. They allowed it. The broadcast did not come from one place. It came from everywhere, flooded every known frequency, every channel used by the galaxy for war, trade, and science. It reached warships, planets, stations, and even deep space listening posts that had not heard a real signal in centuries. The image that appeared was simple: human face. No crown, no armor, no signs of fear. The woman stood against a dark background. Smoke drifted behind her. The ground shook softly, but she did not move. Her eyes were steady, tired, yes, but sharp. She spoke calmly, her voice clear and even. "To the powers of the galaxy," she said, "you have judged us without knowing us. You came to erase us because you were afraid of what we might become." Some alien leaders leaned closer to their screens. Others turned away, bored. They had heard final speeches before. All dying species tried to sound brave at the end. The woman continued, "You believe this is our final message? In that you are correct?" The alien fleets began final weapon alignment. Massive beams started to glow. The planet below would not survive the next few minutes. The woman took a slow breath. "But what you do not understand," she said, "is that this message is not for mercy." The signal strength suddenly increased. Systems across the alien fleets flickered for a fraction of a second. So small it almost went unnoticed. Almost. "This broadcast," the woman said, "is a confirmation. Somewhere deep in alien command structures, alarms tried to activate and failed. You attacked our world," she said. "You crossed a line you were warned never to cross." Alien officers exchanged confused looks. There had been no warning. Humans had barely reached the stars. They had begged for peace before. They had been ignored. The woman's eyes hardened. "By firing on Earth," she said, "you have agreed to terms you did not read." The background behind her shook harder now. A distant explosion lit the sky. Dust fell around her feet. She did not flinch. Her voice lowered. "You've just signed your extinction." The broadcast ended. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then one of the alien ships lost power. At first, commanders assumed it was human resistance, some last desperate strike. Then, another ship went dark, then another. Across the formation, navigation systems began to reset without command. Weapon locks failed. Communication links dropped and reconnected with corrupted data. A senior alien admiral slammed a clawed hand onto a console. Orders were shouted. Engineers worked in panic. The systems did not respond. Far from Earth, beyond the edge of known space, something ancient stirred. Machines hidden inside dead stars and cold voids received the same signal, a signal they had been waiting for. A signal built into them long before the galaxy knew humans existed. Back on Earth, the woman turned away from the camera as the feed cut. Around her, the command center trembled. A ceiling panel fell. Someone cried out. Fires burned unchecked in nearby rooms. A soldier asked the question no one else dared to speak. Did it work? The woman did not answer right away. She looked at a display showing star maps. The aliens believed only they controlled. New symbols were appearing, spreading slowly but steadily. It has begun, she said. Alien weapons finally fired. The first beam struck the surface with enough force to crack continents. The shockwave raced across the planet. Mountains collapsed. Seas rose. The sky turned black with ash. But even as Earth burned, the galaxy was changing. Alien fleets tried to retreat and found jump routes sealed. Stations lost life support. Automated defenses turned inward. Ancient treaties written into the very structure of galactic infrastructure. Activated clauses no living species remembered agreeing to. All of it traced back to a single moment. The broadcast no one was meant to hear. On a shattered planet, a dying species stood tall in its final hour. Not begging, not screaming. Humanity had always known it could not win by strength alone, so it learned. It watched. It adapted. It planted seeds in silence while the galaxy looked away. And now, as Earth burned beneath an uncaring sky, the stars themselves began to answer humanity's call. The aliens had come to end a threat. Instead, they had awakened one. The first reports came in as errors. Alien commanders across the coalition received fragments of data that made no sense. Star charts no longer matched reality. Safe jump lanes collapsed into unstable storms. Defense grids that had protected core worlds for thousands of years shut down without warning. At first they blamed human sabotages, some last desperate cyber attack launched from a dying planet. Then the truth became impossible to ignore. The failures were too clean, too deep, too old. On the bridge of the flagship of the Coalition, the High Strategist stared at a holographic map of known space. Entire regions blinked red. Supply routes vanished. Communication nodes went silent one by one, like stars being turned off by an unseen hand. This is not an attack, one of the analysts said, his voice shaking. Something waiting. The High Strategist demanded records. All of them. Ancient treaties, forgotten accords, automated systems inherited from extinct civilizations. Data poured in from archives no one had accessed in centuries. Layer after layer of legal code and machine logic unfolded, and buried deep within it all was a pattern, human fingerprints. Not obvious ones. No names, no symbols. Just structures. Logic chains. Failsafes designed with a kind of creativity alien minds struggled to follow. Humans had not hacked the galaxy. They had helped build it. Centuries earlier, when humanity was still weak, still exploring, still begging to be heard, they had offered help. Right. Small things at first. Translation matrices. Optimization algorithms. Navigation math. The galaxy had taken it all, grateful for cheap solutions from an eager young species. No one had asked why humans were so generous. Now they knew. Across dozens of worlds, ancient machines awoke. They were not weapons in the simple sense. They did not fire beams or launch missiles. They enforced rules, locked systems into states from which there was no escape. Borders hardened. Energy flows rerouted. Entire economies froze as automated overseers declared violations of agreements older than living memory. Every violation traced back to one event. The attack on Earth. On a scorched planet, deep beneath the ruins of a shattered city, humans watched the same data with grim focus. The command center was darker now. Power was limited. Oxygen smelled of smoke and metal. But the screen still worked. A woman stood at the center, her face lit by shifting star maps. Round her were scientists, soldiers, engineers, and civilians. No one spoke loudly. Every voice carried weight. "They're starting to understand," a man said, pointing at the data. Coalition Command is tearing itself apart, trying to find a way out. "There is no way out," the woman replied. Outside, the planet groaned. Earth was dying. Plates shifted. Storms raged across broken skies. Millions were already gone. Yet the room was calm. Humanity had accepted this price long ago. In the Coalition's inner council, panic replaced arrogance. Leaders shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate withdrawal. Others called for total annihilation, desperate to end the source of the problem. One voice rose above the rest, old and sharp. Earth is not the threat, the elder said. Never was. Silence followed. They knew they could not beat us in war, the elder continued. So they made war impossible. Data streams confirmed the fear. The systems locking the galaxy were not centralized. Destroying Earth would not stop them. In fact, Earth's destruction had been the final requirement. Humans had built a trap that only closed when they were killed. The realization spread like poison. On a distant trade world, an alien governor watched as orbital traffic froze. Ships drifted powerless. Food shipments failed to arrive. Riots broke out within hours. Automated security systems refused manual override, citing existential breach protocols. No one knew how to shut them down, because no one alive had written them. Back on Earth, a young soldier stared at a screen, showing human cities falling dark one by one. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. The woman looked at him. Her expression did not soften. They would have wiped us out anyway, she said. This way, they will remember why they shouldn't have. A sudden alert flashed across the room. Priority signal, weak but real. They're trying to contact us, an operator said. Who? Someone asked. Everyone, the operator replied. They're broadcasting on every channel, pleading, demanding, threatening. The woman considered it for a moment. Record everything, she said. Do not respond. Humanity had spoken already. Across the galaxy, smaller species began to understand the scale of what was happening. Worlds that had refused to join the attack on Earth found their systems untouched. Trade resumed. Power stayed on. Borders remained open. The pattern was clear. Those who fired on Earth were being erased from the future. Those who stood aside were spared. Fear spread faster than any fleet ever could. Some coalition members tried to break away, claiming ignorance. The systems did not care. The rules were absolute. Participation had been logged. Consent had been assumed. Human logic was cruel that way. Not emotional, not angry, just final. Deep in space, one of the ancient machines transmitted a confirmation pulse. It was picked up by human receivers still functioning on Earth. The woman closed her eyes when she saw it. Phase 2 was complete. The galaxy was locked. Extinction clause was active. Earth trembled again as another strike hit. The ceiling cracked. Dust filled the air. People coughed and braced themselves. Time was running out. But somewhere far beyond the dying world, stars moved according to plans written by human hands. Humanity was not winning the war. It was ending the idea that war against humans could ever be worth the cost. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand what that truly meant. The galaxy did not collapse all at once. It unraveled. First it was confusion, then fear, then silence. On worlds that had once ruled millions of systems, skies filled with unmoving ships, power plants shut down to safe mode and never restarted. Defense grids locked their own weapons behind layers of logic no living engineer could break. Entire civilizations discovered that their greatest strength had become a cage. The extinction clause did not kill quickly. It isolated. Coalition leaders gathered again, this time not as conquerors, but as prisoners. Their voices were quieter. Their threats were gone. Every attempt to override the systems ended the same way, with a single cold response repeating across their screens. Violation confirmed. Containment enforced. They finally understood the cruelty of it. Humans had not built a weapon. They had built a rule. On Earth, the command center shook with constant impact. The air was thin now. Emergency lights cast long shadows on cracked walls. People worked with bleeding hands and empty eyes. The planet's surface was breaking apart, but the human signals still flowed outward, steady and unstoppable. Scientists stared at a data stream and whispered they're turning on each other. It was true. With no access to shared resources, coalition members blamed one another. Old rivalries flared. Border worlds accused core systems of betrayal. Fleets that still had power fought those that did not. The unity that had made the galaxy strong shattered under pressure. This was another part of the plan. Humanity understood something the galaxy never had. Large systems fail from the inside when stressed. You do not need to push hard. You only need to push at the right point. A new message appeared on human screens. It was not a request. It was not a threat. It was a question. Several alien worlds were attempting to surrender. They opened channels, broadcasting images of their leaders kneeling, lowering weapons, offering anything they had left. Some begged, some tried to bargain, few tried to lie, claiming they never fired on Earth. The system answered before any human could. Participation confirmed, clause irreversible. One by one, the surrender signals stopped. A young engineer slammed his fist against a console. "We could stop this," he said. "We can still send a command. We built it." The woman looked at him for a long moment. "We built it so we wouldn't have to," she said. Her voice was not cruel. It was tired. Humanity had debated this outcome for generations. There were simulations, ethics boards, long arguments that lasted years. In the end, they reached the same conclusion every time. If mercy could be forced, it was not mercy. If survival depended on forgiveness, it would be exploited. So the Extinction clause had no off switch. Far from Earth, in a system thought untouchable, a coalition's super weapon finally powered up. Its commanders had sacrificed entire cities to fuel it. They aimed it not at Earth, but at the ancient machines enforcing the lock.n. The shot fired and vanished. The beam folded into itself. Redirected by physics the galaxy no longer controlled. The super weapon tore its own system apart. Stars destabilized. Planets cracked. The message was clear. The rules were deeper than force. Smaller species watched in horror and awe. They had feared humanity once. Now they feared the space around humanity even more. Stories spread faster than signals. Whispers of a species that planned its own death just to win the future. On Earth, oceans flooded continents. The sky burned day and night. Time was measured in minutes now. A soldier helped a wounded civilian to a seat. "Will anyone remember us?" the civilian asked. The soldier did not answer. Looked at the stars on a cracked screen, watching alien empires fade into static. "They already do," someone said nearby. And another alert flashed. A previously unknown structure had activated beyond the galactic edge. It was older than any recorded civilization. Humans had not built it. They had only prepared it. The structure transmitted a single confirmation burst, then began its function. It was a cleaner. It removed unstable systems. It recycled matter. It did not hate. It did not judge. It simply finished what the rules demanded. The galaxy screamed in 1,000 languages. Earth felt another massive impact. The ground split. Alarms went silent as power finally failed. The command center went dark, screens fading one by one. The woman stood as the last light died. "We've done all we can," she said. No one argued. As the ceiling collapsed and the world shook itself apart, the final human receivers transmitted one last status update into the void. Humanity neutralized. Clause sustained. Earth died, knowing it had been heard. And across the galaxy, the Extinction clause continued its slow, unstoppable work. Reshaping the stars according to a plan written by a species the universe thought was weak. Humanity was gone. Its will was not. The galaxy changed its language after Earth died. Words like conquest and dominance lost meaning. The stars themselves had become judges, enforcing rules no fleet could challenge. Civilizations that once measured power in ships and soldiers now measured it in compliance and memory. And still, the Extinction clause did not spread blindly. It was selective. Worlds that had fired on Earth continued to fall silent. Their stars dimmed as systems were locked, dismantled, and finally erased by forces that did not announce themselves. No explosions, no heroic last stands, just disappearance, clean and absolute. Other worlds survived. Species that had watched the attack and refused to join felt the rules loosen around them. Trade routes reopened. Power grids stabilized. Their skies remained full of moving ships. They realized, slowly and painfully, that they were alive because of a choice they barely remembered making. Humanity had judged them. Long after Earth's surface turned to ash, a signal echoed through the galaxy. It was faint, older than any current transmitter, but unmistakably human in structure. It did not come from Earth. It came from everywhere else. Hidden throughout the galaxy were human vaults, sealed long before the war. Deep space stations, buried archives, autonomous observers that had waited in silence. They activated now, one by one, not as weapons, but as witnesses. The message they carried was simple. Humanity was gone. But humanity had left instructions. On a neutral world that had once traded with humans, alien scholars gathered around a newly awakened archive. The interface was primitive by galactic standards, yet elegant. Human language flowed across the display, translated instantly. "We did not seek your destruction," the message read. "We sought certainty." The scholars stood in silence as more data unlocked. Records showed humanity's early years among the stars. How they were underestimated. How their warnings were ignored. How their attempts at diplomacy were mocked or delayed. Then came the planning. Humanity had accepted a truth few species ever did. They might lose, that survival might not mean living. So they prepared a future without themselves. The Extinction Clause was not designed to rule the galaxy. It was designed to end a behavior. Any civilization capable of wiping out a developing species without consequence was, by human judgment, unstable. The galaxy had failed the test. Elsewhere, remnants of the coalition tried to regroup. Their power was broken, but desperation remained. Final council was formed, smaller, weaker, terrified. "We must find the human core," one leader said. "There must be survivors." They searched ruined systems, scanned debris fields, listened for signals. They found nothing. Earth was gone. Humanity had ensured there would be no one left to punish. That realization broke something inside them. On spared worlds, a new fear grew, not of extinction, but of absence. Humans had been loud, curious, unpredictable. They had argued, laughed, created art, asked questions no one else dared to ask. The galaxy felt colder. Then, another message appeared. This one was different. It was not a warning. It was an offer. From the human vaults came blueprints, medical knowledge, energy systems safer than anything the galaxy possessed, instructions for avoiding the mistakes that led to extinction clauses and silent stars. But access was limited. Only worlds that had not attacked Earth could read the full archives. It was mercy, human style. It's not forgiveness, but fairness. Over time, new alliances formed. Not empires, but networks. Smaller, cautious, respectful of boundaries written into the stars themselves. Humanity became a myth told in quiet voices. A species that lost its world but won the future. Centuries later, a child on a distant planet asked a teacher why no one ruled the galaxy anymore. The teacher paused, then answered, "Because someone proved that ruling it was never the same as understanding it." In the deepest void, the ancient cleaner structures slowed. Their work neared completion. Entire regions stabilized into quiet balance. The galaxy, wounded but wiser, endured. And somewhere beyond time and space, a final human protocol waited, not activated, not needed. Reminder: if the galaxy ever forgot the lesson again, the rules would still be there. Humanity did not survive. Humanity prevailed. The stars remembered.